Ahoy folks, I'm Craig of Pure Xbox, your host today on this frosty January afternoon. And today what we're going to do is we're going to go through our predictions for Microsoft and Xbox in 2025. What we think is going to happen, what might not happen, but we want to happen. And I'm not alone today. In fact, I'm joined by the biggest Bane I know, Aaron from Push Square.
Hi Craig, thanks for having me. The biggest of Banes.
The biggest of Banes. It's probably the only Bane I know, but you are the biggest Bane, so I mean,
I might be the biggest Bane. Who knows?
Could be. You're a tall boy.
Tall lad.
Yeah, so I've got my good boy, and we're gonna go through. We're gonna have a look at some of these predictions. These were originally an article on PureXbox.com. It's written by my editor Fraser Gilbert and good boy staff writer Ben Carey. So we're gonna have a look at those predictions, as well as a couple of my own, and we're just going to talk about chinwag, whether or not we think they're going to happen. So I'll kick us off with the first one, and I think it's a pretty safe bet if you ask me, but Microsoft's This Is an Xbox campaign is going to march on, it's going to get stronger, that messaging is just going to keep going in that direction, and I'm not the target market, I am a console gamer. It's a smart thing that I'm not the target audience, because I'm already sold on Xbox, I'm already up for it, but basically, this ad campaign is showing off different devices as a mobile phone, a laptop, an Asus ROG Ally, the handheld consoles, as well as a TV and your good old Xbox, all of which are Xboxes, and everyone's joking around saying that the PS5 is now an Xbox, but it's just a different way to play, and yeah, it feels a bit strange, but it's only going to get stronger. What do you think?
I think it's a bold campaign to start off. I know that not all of us entirely agree with it, but I don't think, it's way too early for them to be abandoning it, isn't it? It's
early. It's only just begun.
Yeah, only just started a few months ago. And I think we're going to be seeing more of that. Something we might talk about in this video, and certainly something we talked about over in Push Square as well, is that we're going to be seeing more of Xbox showing up in different places. And although this advert doesn't necessarily tie into that exactly, I do think we're going to be seeing, it's clearly the strategy moving forward. They're moving away from keenly advertising consoles, and they just want this to be a service. And I think they're hoping that what they capture is the casual gamer who is, all about that, like someone that cloud gaming. I don't think any of us in our right mind would go, cloud gaming's going to be my one and only source of gaming, so I'm going to play through my TV. My TV downstairs, it comes up all the time saying I could play Game Pass on it. But that's not for me. But maybe you're tapping into someone that goes, I pay I don't want to pay £500 for a console. I'll pay a tenner, £20 a month, and I can just stream it from my TV, and that's going to be fine for some people. So we're betting on those people, and I think, we're going to see more of this. I think this is a lock-in for the whole year. We're going to be seeing this kind of push, especially as we get more games.
Like we've kind of touched on, we're not the target audience, so it doesn't feel great for us. You were discussing with me just before we started recording, in fact, that you're the kind of guy who will literally pick up his smart TV, bring it to a different room, and hang it up so he could play his PlayStation in a different room that evening. But not everybody is like us. The younger generation nowadays are playing on their mobile phones. They want ease of access, and this is what Microsoft are really leaning into. I think what they've acknowledged is that they're not going to beat Nintendo, they're not going to beat PlayStation, and it's almost like, well, we're going to sync or we're going to try something new. And this new thing that they're doing is trying to make everybody have access to an Xbox. They're trying to make the name Xbox a more household name. They recently signed a contract with LG TVs, and they're getting the cloud gaming app, so it's likely that we're going to just see Xbox popping up in loads more places, phones specifically. I think it's a smart move. I really do. It just feels weird. It just feels weird because I'm already sold, but I get it.
I have become, especially in the last few months, I've been very kind of anti-subscription service type kind of beat, and thinking a lot about what it's done to the film industry as well has really kind of turned me sour on it, and it's a shame to see it happening. Obviously, we know subscription services have been a big thing for a while. Game Pass has been around for a while. PlayStation Plus has had theirs out for nearly 3 years at this point. It's the natural evolution of it, but I do think like down the line, it's just disappointing to see, because I think there's no way that you don't look at this as a kind of bowing out of some form of competition, and ultimately I think that's a bad thing. That might, if we talk about looking at Xbox to PlayStation, maybe PlayStation don't push things as hard because they're not really competing with Nintendo. And if they're if we're really just talking about this is the main console market because Xbox is moving to this is an Xbox campaign, then do they really need to try as hard with the next one? Like you'd hope so, but there will be that kind of drive that will kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about, not to cut you off, that gamers like ourselves, the console market, the ones that are already signed up. And I think what this is good for is getting all of the people that don't understand what an Xbox is or where they can play it or how they can do it. So I think it is a smart strategy. I think it's one of the only strategies right now, moving with a focus on cloud gaming and playing anywhere and playing how you want, with the friends you want, when you want. And it is one of the main selling points for me of why I love my Xbox is I'll play on my Xbox in this office. I'll go downstairs. I can play it on my TV. I can play it on my ROG. Like, I can play my Xbox whenever I want and I get achievements, and that's a serotonin boost. So it's great, but it's a sure bet we're gonna see this as an Xbox march straight through 2025. I would say we're gonna do the thumbs up thing, thumbs up, thumbs down. We think it's a strong thumbs up. It's gonna continue.
Thumbs up. Yeah,
it's got to. So yeah, moving on to the second one of today, Gears of War E-Day. It's gonna get a massive look at over the summer during Xbox's summer showcase. We did get a good look at E-Day at Summer Games Fest last year. We got a trailer. We got to see that Marcus Phoenix is back with Dominic Santiago as well. And this is a prequel to everything that we've played in the Gears of War franchise so far. Very, very exciting. We haven't really seen much from the Coalition over the past few years. They've been working away tirelessly on helping developers like 343 create Halo Infinite. They've been signed on by Microsoft to help produce other games. We haven't seen anything from them for quite some time. And I think the look at the Gears E-Day trailer at Summer Games Fest only indicates that we are probably going to get a nice E3 bite, like big old bite of gameplay that's going to make us super excited. And I do think summer's a pretty good shout for this. I think the developer direct is a bit early, but summer, I could see it happening.
This seems like more of a summer vibe to me. Like big.
Oh yeah.
Arguably, this is going to be the biggest game that Xbox has had since probably Halo Infinite came out. If you're talking launch of the Series S and X, I think that this is a huge game, and it's going to be a really big deal for them as well, because it's nostalgia's big. You're harking back to the OGs, and harking back to the franchise when it was not that 4 and 5 are bad in any way, but like you're harking back to when it was at its best.
Your golden peak. 360 days. Yeah,
exactly.
Like even the earlier games, it's fine, but the golden 360 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like Gears of War 2 and 3. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. So you're really linking into this, and I think getting a big kind of summer showcase for that really makes sense to me. And it's been a while, man. Like you're saying, like Gears 5 was last gen. That was, I don't have a date in mind. It was, I don't know, 2019, 2018?
It was 2019, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been quite some time. It's been 6 years now.
It's a long time. I don't think we'll see it this year, like in terms of coming out. I think it'll be 2020. If it gets revealed this year, maybe 2026. Who knows? Maybe it would be earlier than that. This is the thing with these games being like so silent for so long, and you can never really tell what a marketing strategy is going to be. Do you go for the long tail, build up, like reveal it then, another thing this year, eventually it comes out the next year, or do you just go, here's the gameplay, it's out in the peak time coming up to Christmas, November time or October.
If we look at previous titles like Gears 5, they have released in the end of summer. I think it was September.
Uh-huh.
If we do get a good chunk of gameplay to feast on and like fully get excited for, I don't doubt that they would indicate that it could come in the same year. Like Indiana Jones, somehow we got loads of information on it at the developer direct at the start of the year, and it's still released in that same year.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So there is chance that it could come out in 2025. I mean, the prediction is that we're gonna see gameplay, which I'm just gonna say that's a definite. I do think now is the time, especially with the new strategy, and there's quite a lot of negativity swirling around Xbox, and I think we need to keep the hardcore faithful, especially with Gears of War. Your OGs are going to be like excited for that. First of all, the War of War is back. We finally got the full title back, so it's going back. It's an ode to the old days. Whether or not it's going to come out in 2025, probably not. I would say 2026 to be safe. But yeah,
but yeah, no, I think this is turning up for sure this year.
Yeah. At the Xbox Summer Game Show, I think that's our prediction. Next up is Fable, and if it launches this year, it's going to be massive. Have you played any of the old Fable games at all?
No, I have not played Fable at all. Obviously heard lots about it back in, like we're saying, the 360 days. I know a lot of people, a lot of friends that were really into it. I'm interested in this one. Obviously, the trailers that I've seen, it has this very humorous kind of tone to it, very British. You got Big Richard in there.
Oh yeah,
interested to see how Playground Games deals with this, because these are the guys that done for
Forza Horizon developers. They are Playground Games. They have been known for making these stunning, really immersive racing sim games that are so detailed, and they usually push the limits of the console's capabilities. So they are stunning, and from what we've seen from Playground Games, it looks like, I believe it's going to be running on Forza Tech as well. It's going to be on the same engine, so it does look like it's going to be good. I know there's been conversations around whether or not a developer that has no experience in making a fantasy epic like Fable before, and specializing in racing can pull this off.
Yeah. We
haven't really seen that much footage of Fable. We've got 2 trailers. We've got the one with Big Richard, my guy. And then we got another one which gave us a bit more of a look at some of the gameplay, which is all in engine, and it looks stunning. It's just whether or not they can pull off the British charm and the gorgeous vistas that are encompassed in this like massive fantasy world. But I do think that Playground Games can flex. They can flex in this game.
I mean, speaking about Playground Games as well, it's been a while. Like Forza Horizon 5 was out in like 2022, maybe 2021. I actually did review that back in the old freelancing days. When
you were working for the Xbox boys?
I don't know about it. Don't tell the bosses. Don't tell the bosses. But no, I'm a little out of the loop when it comes to like how long we've been waiting on these things, or like how like seriously we're considering whether they'll be out this year or next. But I do think when you look at that year of what the game we just spoke about there, if you took Gears of War E-Day and Fable, maybe they don't both release within 2025, but if they're releasing, generally speaking, within a close amount of time of each other, like that's a big year. You know, obviously there's always the exclusive chat about like, oh, Sony's releasing this, but Sony doesn't release that many. You know, like on a good year, you're getting 2. And I would argue, I mean, like last year we had like some big hits, but nothing like large scale. Now looking to Xbox, here you have Fable and Gears of War potentially, whether it's just seeing them or they're coming out, but those are huge like franchises and really big deals. And I think a lot of people are going to be really excited for that, because these have been franchises that have not been around for a while, or franchises like we're saying harken back to the golden days. So
I think it's something that Xbox really need to encourage more often, is going back into their history and pulling the things that made people fall in love with their console and bring them to a new light and to a new audience on new devices, and really show off what made them special in the first place, what made the Xbox 360 era dominate in terms of sales, until obviously we got the Red Ring of Death. which typical Xbox fashion. But 360 was the year. It was the generation. So it would be good if we get that. I think if we're gonna get Gears E-Day or Fable in 2025, we're more likely to get Fable. I have nothing to base this on except for Fable's been in the works since 2020, so it's been like 5 years. I think we'll get a good look at E-Day, get us hyped for it, and then we'll release Fable, and then we'll move into E-Day in the new year. We mentioned Forza Horizon. We were talking about Playground Games and how they're tackling Fable. But one of our next predictions is that actually Playground Games' Forza Horizon 5 will be Xbox's next major PS5 port. It's going to be the next game that heads over to the Sony console. I think there's a lot of legs in this one. I believe that we've had some reliable inside sources that have like indicated that this is going to be the next game that comes. I know there's rumors of more games coming, but this one is the next in line.
Yeah, this one, we kind of spoke about this over in Push Square. I do think Forza Horizon 5 kind of fits that criteria that we had last year. You know, they were talking about trying to focus on, they had like their kind of indie single player stuff like Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, I think it was. But then the ones that they were focusing on and the ones they wanted to be hits were Grounded and Sea of Thieves. So they wanted to bring games that have, they have these
prestige about them.
No, I was more going to say like a community, like a fan base there. But it's like for multiplayer games in particular, we know it's a really, really tough industry out there for keeping these things alive or keeping them healthy, especially after launch. So being able to introduce new entire audiences to that, like we had with Sea of Thieves, because Sea of Thieves was one of the best selling games on PS5 last year. It was a really, really big hit, and that's like, it's healthy for the game itself, and it's obviously great to I've been playing Sea of Thieves this year with my friends after kind of admiring it from afar, but never really playing it because I never had the squad. But now I'm playing with my friends on PS5, and I mean like literally like we're playing it now still. As I'm recording, I'm not playing it in the background, but we've been playing it most days this last couple of weeks. So I think Forza Horizon fits that criteria because it's a game that's like, it's fun, it's approachable for most gamers as well, but it has that online community, so you're really kind of giving it a second wave, a new lease of life. I just would say that it's a little bit of a shame for the Crew Motorfest, because the Crew Motorfest is kind of like the stand-in Forza Horizon 5 for PlayStation.
Forza Horizon as a series is considered like the holy trinity of Xbox. You've got Halo, Gears, and Forza. And to people that have been around for a long time, seeing Forza make that jump to PlayStation will basically just open up the idea that anything is fair game from Xbox, which is a shame for the Crew. But when you've got games like Forza Horizon 5, like you've experienced with Sea of Thieves in recent weeks, that these Xbox games are phenomenal, and the only thing that's going to happen is that more people get to enjoy these stellar games. And I do think there's a lot of weight to Forza Horizon 5 being the next one. It just makes sense to me.
I think if you were to, we've spoken about this before, but like the gradual process of like, it's almost like easing players into accepting that something like this would happen. If Xbox came out and said, or Microsoft came out and said, first game out of the bag, Gears of War, people are going to be like, what? Like, or Halo. That's crazy, So last year we had franchises that are pretty, like, I'd say Sea of Thieves is a pretty big Xbox game, but, things like Grounded or Hi-Fi Rush were like kind of smaller fry stuff that were like, it's like we're doing this, but it's not like the big hitters yet. And if I had to put money on that like Holy Trinity thing, I'd think Forza is the first one that you would do tactically in a way that's like, we're easing into this, we're going Forza first, then like Halo and Gears later. That's kind of how I would see that. So Forza for me makes sense as like, if you're going to go for a big one, this would be the first one to do it with.
What do you reckon? 2 thumbs up?
2 big thumbs up for that one.
Next one that's coming. Great. Well, moving on to the fifth prediction is that Xbox handhelds are going to see some early prototypes out there, whether that's a leak or a confirmation themselves. We're just going to see something along the lines of an Xbox handheld. Now, there has been some chatter. I know Phil Spencer himself has been talking about loving creating these new handheld, making devices. He thinks that the team themselves making new hardware is only a good thing. And when he throws out these little nuggets of information, there's usually a lot more behind them. There's a lot more weight, or at least there's a lot more thought into why he's even talking about them. Phil Spencer himself has been known for just being quite transparent, or like being up for things and then kind of drip feeding that a bit earlier before it's announced. It's not watertight. We're not getting anything specifically. We might just see a prototype, something leaking out there. And for me, I don't really have much more to say. I have myself the ROG Ally, which has Xbox PC Game Pass on it. So I can run games handheld natively on it, and it's got the app in compact mode. So it already essentially is an Xbox handheld, whether or not they actually do them themselves, which has like internal hardware, kind of like the Steam OS.
Yes.
I'm not sure, but it would be nice. It just would be nice.
I think, most you're going to see out of this is leaked stuff. I don't think we get anything official yet. It seems, my gut tells me it's a little early. From when we've heard about it, I don't think we're going to be like, later in the year, the Xbox handheld comes out. That's if I had to bet money on it, I would probably say we're even as much as a couple of years away, and it would likely, like, how these things work, it would likely line up with whenever Sony releases their handhelds as well, if they're working on one as well, as it's rumored. Leaks, I mean, you know what it's like. Switch 2 has been leaked to death by this point, so I mean, I think we could see something similar to that. I'm very curious to see what it does to, like you're saying, stand apart from the ROG Ally. Why would I buy the Xbox version when this really good version is available right now, and I can get it for fairly decent prices as well?
Yeah. I think with Xbox as well is they have to be smart about when they release this tech. They've got a huge focus on cloud gaming, so it wouldn't even be a stretch to think that they would deliver something that's in line with this is an Xbox strategy where you can play it wherever you want, however you want, on whatever device you want. And if they release something along the lines of the PS Portal, for instance, then, I wouldn't be so fussed about it. But there's rumors that the Switch 2 is going to have a lot of specs along the lines of relative power to the Series S, the Xbox Series S. And I think with an Xbox, what would make it stand out is if they created a handheld device with taking everything that they learn from external third-party ones like the ROG Ally and the Legion Go and all that sort of stuff, basically offers the console experience and not the PC Game Pass experience, where you can play basically an Xbox in your hands. Like they do that sort of thing with like a little screen adapter for the Xbox Series S, so you can play it on the go. But what would be really good, I know Phil's actually a fan of that screen, so like keeping that in mind, it would be nice to have a console rather than an app on a device or an OS on a device, but to have a console itself.
I mean, that's the big, it's all about, I mean, the reason we play consoles in the first place is about ease of access and simplicity, and that's why, like, I've always preferred the ROG Ally to the Steam Deck, for example, because the Steam Deck I feel like is a bit tweaky, like do this, do that, maybe you'll get the best performance, whereas I felt like the ROG Ally, with the little time I had with it, it was just sign into Game Pass, right, cool, there you go, your games are there, download them, play them, whatever, and
anything you can do on your PC, you do on your ROG.
But I just felt like there was a more like easily accessible element to that, and that I think is key if you're wanting to do like a really good handheld. I mean, these kind of PC handhelds are good, like, and I know plenty of people that love tinkering with the settings to try and get, I got this game running at that, but that's not, if we were into that, we wouldn't be playing consoles, you know what I mean? Like that's what we like about playing on that's part of the appeal for me, at least.
Yeah.
But
so do we think 2025 is the year we're going to see it?
Not officially.
No.
Yeah, I mean, this prediction in theory then is right, potentially. Xbox handheld sees early prototype leaks. I'm not gonna go like a hard disagree. I'm gonna go down like that. I don't think we're gonna see design stuff. I think we'll maybe hear what we tend to hear about first is specs. I think we'll maybe start hearing about specs, but I don't think we're gonna see what this thing looks like.
I agree. I think it'll be like my cousin's friend's next door neighbor who worked at GameStop for like 5 minutes. His mate told him. I think it's going to be like that. So a leak is a pretty safe. Like, no, we're probably not going to see anything real, but a leak possibly.
Yeah.
Moving on, the next prediction that we're not going to see, but technically, is that Rare's Everwild, an upcoming game, is just going to be missing in action. It's going to be MIA in 2025. It was announced a long time ago, 2019.
Yeah, it's like 4 years
6
ago.
years.
Yeah. Oh wait, when was that announced?
It's 2025, my guy. It's been like somewhat 6 years, maybe like 5 and a bit, but basically Everwild is Rare's upcoming big game. It's their next game. Rare are the ones responsible for Sea of Thieves, so we know what they can do. They can create these great games with beautiful art direction and design. But we saw a trailer, and that's it. 2019. That's the last we've seen of it. We do have a blank space during the developer direct, but the idea that Everwild is going to fill that spot
annoy so many people. I think
it would annoy a lot of people, and it just doesn't make sense.
No,
it would be nice to know more about it, but we've got a screenshot, we've got a trailer, we've got a bit of a director's commentary on said trailer, and that's about it. But it does look nice. It looks gorgeous. We just probably not gonna see anything about it. I would be inclined to agree with that.
Literally, I'd never heard of this game until about 5 minutes before we started recording. So I watched the trailer, and I can't say that, like, being a big fan of Sea of Thieves, I didn't really see the like. I'm sure it's gonna, like you say, I'm sure it's gonna be a really nice looking game. But you know, it immediately reminded me of Towers of Agaspa, which came out last year. It went into early access. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have like the knowledge since I only found out about it before. But my initial impressions was just like, it didn't look like it was up to much, and being quiet for that long is.
You can usually get a sense of momentum, especially with the people that we work with and talk with every day. You usually hear like murmurs or like developers being excited or just anything, and it seems really, really quiet in the Rare camp. So I do think this is a very good shout. Unfortunately, it's a bit annoying because it would be nice to see more. If it's going to show itself, it's going to be either during the summer game show, Xbox Summer Game Show, or like a partner preview or something like that. But it would be like summer or early winter. Yeah, I would be inclined to agree that we're not going to see more. I don't really have much more to say because we don't really know that much.
I don't like
it's
this.
It's just MIA. I
don't know. So I think this is right. I'm going double.
I'm going double. I don't think it's going to show up. And neither does Ben or Fraser. So and Aaron. So yeah. Moving on, we're going to see there's a good collaboration with Activision and Xbox now, considering that they bought them. So we're going to see some classic Call of Duty finally arriving on Xbox Game Pass. There's been listings on the PC store, which is always a good indication that they're going to come to Game Pass. That's usually the trend that I look for as well. And with Black Ops 6 being such I think it's the biggest Call of Duty, biggest launch of a Call of Duty ever, that, you know, it's proved to Microsoft that we're going to see these older Call of Duty games finally arriving, and it makes sense because they're
but
now
why not?
In cahoots.
Yeah, why would you not? You know,
why would you not?
There's a real. It's kind of like I mean, we've seen some of the other games. If I'm not mistaken, like Modern Warfare 2 is there, World at War.
So far, the games that are available to play on Xbox Game Pass are Black Ops 6 and Modern Warfare 3. So
when you say Modern Warfare 3, do you mean the new
Yeah, the new one.
Ah, right, okay. So
there's a huge catalog of Call of Duty games to make its way.
Right, okay.
I've got an entire stack of Call of Duty over here. Because of that list video that I did where I played every single one. And it would have been nice. We were expecting an announcement at some point earlier on in 2024, but that never came. So 2025, it makes sense that it will happen. I remember someone said, I can't remember exactly who, but they were like, just because we bought them, don't expect it to appear immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't say that they're not coming, because why not? But yeah, 2025 to me feels like a good shout to begin drip feeding these games. They might not all come at once, they might come in batches, but I would say we're likely to see classic Call of Duty.
So which ones though, like, can you buy on, because I'm sure I've got Modern Warfare 2, like OG Modern Warfare 2, like on my Xbox, or I did.
Yeah, you can buy the old games.
Right, so you can buy
backwards compatibility. Has been on Xbox for quite some time, but they're not on the Game Pass service.
Yeah. This makes. I mean, when the Bethesda stuff came on, it was all just lumped in, was it not? It was like, we're gonna chuck on. It was like Doom, Dishonored, and
they did come in thick and fast.
So I mean, I think that would be such a good win in marketing strategy for. Roll around the time of whatever is next for Call of Duty in 2025, assuming it comes to Game Pass as well, you go play every Call of Duty on Game Pass. It's literally, it's the same thing I've heard people talk about before. Like, Xbox has such a good, like, service. They have such a good, like, deal on with Game Pass. And sometimes it's
the best deal in gaming.
Yeah,
it is, without a doubt. If you don't mind physical media, then without a doubt, best deal in gaming.
So get straight to the point about it. I feel like sometimes it's like a bit too like,
frustration.
do that, and I'm like, no. Just go for £20 a month. You've got this. For a tenner, you can get this. You know, if you subscribe to this service, you can play every Call of Duty game. That's what you need for these. And like, I don't know why they're not really doing that either, because it's like
Activision, big acquisition. I think there was a lot of things put in place by perhaps PlayStation, Sony. They wanted a lot of word into how, especially the Call of Duty series was handled with Xbox, and whether or not Xbox would get bonuses from it. And I remember the legal thing was so tiresome, but there was a lot of talk about Call of Duty specifically. So it could just be one of those things where behind the scenes there are contracts, there are regulations, there are reasons why we're not having them up there at the moment, but we are likely to get them. It's just going to take some time. So I can see 2025 beginning the onslaught. I'm not sure if we're going to get them all, but we are definitely going to start getting them. I'll give it 2 thumbs up still.
Yeah, we're going for that.
Two big thumbs. So moving on, we've got the next one, which is, it's Microsoft Gaming. Xbox is now Microsoft Gaming, but they're going to get a shakeup in leadership. That means that Phil Spencer, CEO for quite some time, big Xbox boss, he's gonna be replaced by who? Not too sure. We have speculation that we're going to see maybe Sarah Bond or Matt Booty step into the leadership role. Xbox's marketing, Xbox's strategy has been shifting a lot recently, and a lot of it somewhat doesn't line up with early days Phil Spencer, which is this very open, very honest dialogue with the audience, with you, with us, basically just telling us what's going on. If he's disappointed in something, he would come out and he'd be like, I'm disappointed by it. We mismanaged expectations. This didn't happen. Or I want this on this console. And then it happens. And Phil is very transparent in that. And recently, with a lot of layoffs, a lot of communication changes, it's been quite quiet in Camp Xbox. We're starting to feel like that is a slow ramp up to perhaps Sarah Bond taking his place.
I think this is fairly likely. You know, Phil Spencer's always tried to be this, like, I'm one of the gamers, you know, I'm one of you guys, like, chill, approachable guy. Yeah. But sometimes that comes at odds when your company's having to make tough decisions. You know, if you're making, like, at the end of the day, this is a big company It's a lot of money going into different places, and that quite often means they have to be cutthroat with certain things when it comes to just getting rid of certain development teams or this or that. And, you know, quite a lot of us won't agree with that sometimes. And I think more often than not, you end up with a fall guy. And obviously, Phil Spencer is the guy you look at. When these things are happening, you're like, but you said you were into these games like 6 months ago. But you said you loved this game. Why are you shutting down the studio now? And I think gradually what we're going to see from that is probably something a little bit more similar to what Sony does, which is they don't say anything. Man, you don't know what they're doing, what's happened. Like, official words from Sony are so few and far between. It can be frustrating, especially when it comes to like, what are we looking forward to? What are their focuses? You know, and I just think that in a world where like Phil tries to make it out like Xbox is this like, we're the gamers like you guys, but as it gets bigger and we're doing $69 billion acquisitions, you can't maintain that small guy mentality when you're not, you know what I mean? When you are this big company. And I think it would be a shame, because it's nice to see like a personable person at the head of this, where you feel like he could go on he's went on podcasts and the like, and you always see him at the game show events and people talking to him and stuff like that. I mean, that I prefer to something like when Jim Ryan was at Sony. I mean, you're not seeing people going up and chatting to him, you know, in amongst the weeds at conferences. So it's a shame, but I do think there will be calls for it at some point, because when they're making a lot of hard decisions, people start pointing fingers.
It was a lot of times during the layoffs, and Phil himself was very disappointed, but he was very quiet. We didn't hear from him. We didn't hear anything. Instead, we got very cagey and very media trained interviews from Sarah Bond, basically kind of throwing away from the topic and trying to like keep an upbeat and very, very diplomatic, but very business approach. And to me, it feels as though what they're doing is they're slowly just introducing us to a regular face that we're going to see more often with a new style of communication. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I do see Phil Spencer moving on. I would say this is unfortunately a double thumbs up from me. I don't want it to happen, but I could see a shakeup. My money is on Sarah Bond. Honestly, I think Sarah Bond's going to take over. And we're going to go into a much more quieter communication style.
I do think the one thing that I think could maybe see this lasting a little longer before we see any kind of major move is that it does feel like Xbox currently is in a bit of a transition period. So change in management, maybe they're already doing part of that behind the scenes without us really knowing, but change in management in the middle of such like big moves for the company could be risky. You know, it could be something that maybe like once things settle down, once like the whole we've acquired, you know, the ramifications for acquiring such a big company start to settle down, and we start to actually see like how what the company wants to do with those acquisitions. Once we start to see that coming up a bit more, then maybe we would see. I could see.
There's argument as well that Phil would stay on until the handover of the next generation of consoles.
There's that as well.
I'm changing it to one thumb.
I'm changing it to one thumb.
I'll be with you on that. But moving on, we're going to talk about the next rumor, the next prediction that we have, which is that Xbox is finally going to unveil its next series controller. It's a next Elite controller. Series 3. The Series 2 has been a staple for quite some time now, which launched, I think it was 2019. So there's been a lot of schematics out there about a new controller that's wearing trousers with like a rubbery grip that goes across the bottom. We've seen some early spec details, which is kind of in line with what we were talking about. If we're going to see an Xbox handheld, it would be something similar to what we're seeing with this Elite 3 controller. But yeah, I could see definitely some new updated Elite controller. Xbox loves their controllers. They lay off hundreds of people, and then they're like, but look at this controller. So I can see it happening. I don't think that there's really that much more to go on other than the fact that there have been some like visual hints and clues that these things are coming.
I don't know anything about these controllers. They look nice, but I mean, we only just got our first like pro controller this generation, pretty much, with the DualSense Edge. So I'm a bit like the whole kind of idea of like a generational upgrade. I don't know, seems a little. But you would think though that it would come sooner rather than later, considering that, I mean, for Sony, at least Sony completely changes its controller every new generation. And I think for me that was one of the things that was kind of lacking. I mean, I love the idea that I can use my Xbox One controller on a Series S, but I would like to see some enhancements whenever the next generation is. Obviously that then is like, bring it out this year, so then we've got a few years before we're looking at a new snazzy next gen controller. So
I could see it possibly happening based on the idea that if we're going into like a more of a cloud gaming sense, that they could create a new controller that has more like adaptable features to cloud gaming, that has better connections to mobile devices and TVs and all that sort of stuff. One of the main pulls for me for a PS5 versus an Xbox is, although this is still the comfiest controller and in my eyes the best controller on the market, it doesn't have the DualSense vibrations, the haptic feedback on the sticks, on the triggers, and it would be nice for Xbox to lean into that tech a bit more to try and compete with what games they do release. Just a bit more of an argument of why you would play them on Xbox and not on a PS5 Pro enhanced version of a game with a more immersive controller. So it just feels like it's something that they should do. And yeah, I would say tentative. I think we'll see an Elite Series 3, but I don't think it's going to be this year. So I'm gonna do one down. I'm gonna do one down.
I'll go one down as well, because I don't know. I don't know much about the, and it seems weird to be like so far into a generation now. Just a wee fun down.
Just a wee
one.
Moving on to the last of Fraser and Ben's theories, their predictions for this year, and that is that future Starfield expansions will be cancelled to focus on the Elder Scrolls 6. I'm going to read what they wrote here. They said, Starfield Shattered Space hardly set the world alight last year, and with that being the only expansion that Bethesda has formally committed to in its premium DLC packs, we think the team will stop there. We have heard that more expansions have been in the team's plans at some point, but with the first DLC's mixed reception and the world's ravenous appetite for the Elder Scrolls 6, we think that Bethesda Game Studios goes all hands on deck on that one during 2025 and beyond. As for when the Elder Scrolls 6 launches, we're probably waiting a good while yet. And I'll be inclined to agree with this one. I don't think if it's anything similar to Shattered Space, which I believe, if I remember, we gave it a 5 out of 10 for the review. It just wasn't up to the standard of the main game. And to me, it doesn't make sense based on that feedback, which is after their initial plans. They did tell us that there was more in the works. Shattered Space came out, didn't review well, and now you would begin to question whether they would bring out more.
I am so torn on this one because, Bethesda like to make, they're quite often their games have a decent little offering of DLC, did they not?
Fallout 4, plenty. There's loads in that.
So,
Skyrim, still going. 20 odd 50 years later.
So it's in the tradition for them to continue doing the DLC, but there's no denying that Starfield has not been received as well as some of the other games, and obviously people yammering on about Elder Scrolls 6 for a long ass time because they stupidly revealed it way too early.
Way too early.
I am actually kind of waiting for this one to drop on PS5. I played a little on Xbox, but for me, the idea of like a whether, you know, an execution with this game, but on paper, the whole idea of a Bethesda sci-fi game, space game like this, is much more exciting to me than anything Elder Scrolls. And I know I'm going to be in the minority there, because Skyrim and Oblivion's Oblivion, and everyone loves those games. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think it would be a real shame for them to like ditch it for that. But then money talks, and if Shattered Space wasn't received well, maybe it didn't sell as well. I don't know. Might just be worth them moving on. So I think I'm going to remain hopeful and say no, but one thumb down, I think.
Well, before you do, we were talking about this because we did a similar video as we are doing now on Push Square. I'll put a link in the description. But one of, I think it was Robert's, wasn't it? One of his predictions was that Starfield would launch on PS5 with like a complete edition. I would say that it feels really feasible for Starfield to appear on it on PlayStation. Bethesda aren't shy of releasing games on PlayStation. They've got Doom, The Dark Ages on the way. They've got Indiana Jones, which is Machine Games, but Bethesda published. You're getting those on PS5, so it doesn't feel like a stretch too far into the beyond for Starfield to appear on it. For one, it would just review better on PS5 because all the kinks have been worked out as long as it functions well. You'd think they would have ironed out some of those early launch kinks.
That's what I thought was going to happen last year with Shattered Space. It's the same thing as you're saying when the DLC was announced and it's coming up to a year. It kind of made sense to me at that time for it to kind of launch alongside there. So I do think that could be like a thread in the kind of bow of, yeah, we might see another one. So I'm still going to stick with the thumbs down for now. I'm hopeful that we see something else.
Okay. I'm going to say thumbs up. I think it's going to be cancelled, but yeah. that's about it. So that does it for Fraser and Ben's. And I just have a quick couple that I just want to throw out there. So my final two, I've only got two, is that Xbox is going to concede on the lack of physical media. They did lay off their physical media department. I think they're going to concede on its lack of physical media by offering discless physical editions. So we'll still get boxes, but they'll just have codes in it. And that's my theory for most upcoming games that are going to release on Xbox. If you want a physical edition, it's still just going to be a code.
Yeah.
You'll get a box, but that's it.
We've seen that happen with some games already, have we not? Like in terms of no...
Yeah.
Because I might be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure some of like the big editions of games like Horizon Forbidden West and stuff on PS5 didn't have a disc. It's ringing a bell. I need to be fact checked on that. But yeah, I can totally see this if we're steadily moving away. But people like collector's editions. But
they do.
It's a funny thing because if you were to look at the comments, you know, on our websites, whenever something comes up to like a lack of a physical edition, like I remember 2023, there was a big talk about Alan Wake 2 didn't have a physical edition until last year it was announced.
Yeah.
A lot of people come, I'm not playing this game till there's a physical edition. I don't want, you know, and there's a big outrage of it, but then you start to look at stats, how these things sell, digital, growing, physical, getting less and less by the year. So it's only really a matter of time, which is a shame, but no, I can totally see this happening. I 100% can see this
I think
happening.
with Game Pass being their main focus and game sales not really being the driving force, the idea of printing discs just doesn't make sense.
Especially when you only have one product that actually can read the disc, being the Series X, like the Series S doesn't. If you're on PC, it doesn't. If you're on the ROG Ally, it doesn't, you know.
We are getting new versions of the Xbox, which are digital. The Series X is getting a digital version. I think it's already out now. I'm not sure. But yeah, so my idea is that it's going discless. I know Starfield itself, the code for the game was on the back of a credit, which was like an in-game credit chip. So it wasn't a disc. It was just a code. And I think this is going to happen. Personally, I'm not a fan of it because I like to own my media. I like to have control over it. I don't like the idea of buying a game to then have somebody else tell me I don't own it anymore.
Yeah.
Like what happened to Concord. Just the idea of that is something that doesn't sit well with me, but it doesn't really change anything. And my compromise, but also my prediction, is that we'll still get boxes but they'll just have a piece of paper or something that'll just have a code in it. So that's my first prediction.
I'm going to die. I'm going up. Let's heal this other one.
So the next one, I don't really have anything to add too much to it. Microsoft is going to start incorporating its own AI assistant into its Xbox dashboard. Ooh. My idea is that they've got strong roots with strong inroads with like AI companies. I think they signed one with In-World AI not that long ago to bring AI tools to Microsoft and Xbox. And whether that's just going to stick around with game design, I doubt. I think it would move further into like the gaming experience. And we're seeing things all over the place with digital assistants like Siri and Alexa and everyone just kind of giving you a helping hand when you're searching for things. I know they've got Copilot.
Oh, right, okay.
You got Copilot, that's Microsoft's like chat GPT. It could take minutes in your meetings and all that sort of stuff. And I could just see that tech being applied to the Xbox dashboard. It might be a bit in your face and unnecessary to a lot of people. Like pressing Y and then searching for a game is pretty much the same as what you'll get out of this. But I think they're going to want us to not be scared of AI and be like, look, this little helper's going to find the game that you want to play next. And yeah, my theory is that AI is going to show up in some early access preview of the Xbox dashboard.
I think that's a great prediction. I think that's a really good one, because when you think about it, like TVs have a lot of it now built in. We already have voice recognition stuff for searching things on PlayStation and Xbox. My one caveat to that is that I think this seems like the kind of thing that could be built in with software, but I just have it in my head that such a big feature would be a new gen thing. But I think I do believe that will happen. Now, I've never thought of it once before, but there you go. I think
we all want to ignore AI.
Yep,
we do. We don't need it, but it's coming, and we're gonna set up walls, or we're gonna embrace it. And I think this is one of those things, one of those times where potentially it's just going to be an assistant that's going to help you figure out what you want to play. It's going to scour Game Pass. It's going to look at your trends. It's basically an algorithm, but you can talk to it. That'll be something. Maybe you can talk to it with your mic, your headset. Maybe the next Elite 3 controller will have just a little button where you can be like, Starfield.
Yeah.
And then it'll find it for you. Or it'll be something that will be a feature that can be integrated into games. But yeah, I think they've already got Xbox on, Xbox off.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that too far of a stretch to me.
No, that's a good one. I do. I'm going to give it 1 because I think it might happen later than this year, but I do agree with it. I do agree with you.
I'm going to give it 1. I think it will happen, but I'm pulling this out of my... Yeah,
I think that feels like an educated, a very well-educated guess, in my opinion.
Well, thank you very much. Well, this next one is not, because I'm going to leave you on this.
Okay.
I think Blinks is going to get a revival. Blinks the Time Sweeper.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't care if it's true. I don't care if it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. Blinks the Time Sweeper. If I don't say it's going to happen, then it's never going to happen.
Exactly. There you go. I have nothing to add to that because I do not know what Blinks is. I'm sure I've heard you mention it, but...
It's a cat with a Hoover. And on that, thank you very much, Aaron, for joining me for today's video. It's hopefully a nice listen for you, and I appreciate you all being at this point in the video. We would love to hear what you think of the predictions that we've talked about, and I think it would be great if you could share some of your own. You can go for an educated guess, or you can go for an unhinged one, or you could just back me on Blinks the Time Sweeper showing up in 2025. What do you think, Aaron?
You know what? If Blinks makes you happy, that's what I want as well. Get down in the comments, flood the inboxes of whoever we need to email just to get Blinks back.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Well, you can find Aaron on pushsquare.com and Push Square, the YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description. Thank you so much for joining me, and that's all that's left. So, bye-bye for now. Cheerio.
Goodbye.